Children in foster care are among our most vulnerable. So how is it that the system supposed to look after their well-being is instead depriving them of an essential benefit? Erin Moriarty has the anatomy of a loophole.
My family was really centered around education and getting A's, getting B's, and everything.
Katrina White remembers just how determined her parents were to see her and all her siblings go to college.
I'm the last, I'm the baby.
That never happened.
Which parent did you lose first?
I lost my father first. I was 9 years old.
Then you lost your mom, too.
I lost her in 2013.
After living initially with an older sister, White spent most of the next 7 years in group homes like this throughout Southern California.
When you were younger, did it ever occur to you you'd end up in foster care?
No, I didn't even know what foster care was.
Ian Marks also landed in foster care.
I grew up in New Orleans, Louisiana, and I was in foster care for 8 years.
I'm Anthony Jackson.
Anthony Jackson, known as AJ, spent his teenage years as a ward of the state of Minnesota. Justin Cachetta in Michigan.
I grew up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and I was in foster care for about 3 years.
Each of these young people ended up in the care of the state for the worst possible reason, the death of one or both parents.
When I was 15 years old, unfortunately, my father got diagnosed with an aggressive form of cancer.
Ian Mark's story is particularly heartbreaking. His mom and dad were both in the military.
And my dad had killed my mother when I think it was around like 11 or 10 years old. I found her body in my house.
But their shared loss doesn't end there. After being placed in foster care, they discovered that government benefits that they should have been receiving after the deaths of their parents had instead been claimed by the state.
Social Security benefits.
Death benefits?
Yes.
Social Security and veterans benefits.
And while I was in foster care, I realized that I was supposed to be receiving these benefits. I inquired with my caseworker, and they informed me that they would be taking the checks to reimburse themselves for my care and my siblings' care.
And that's the issue here. In most states, foster kids receive their care for free. The only children who are singled out to pay for their own care are those receiving federal benefits, either because they're disabled or have a deceased parent.
It's not the state's money to take. It's the child's money. It's their property.
Amy Harfeld is the National Policy Director for the Children's Advocacy Institute at the University of San Diego School of Law. She says that children who have lost parents are often the most vulnerable.
We know that these young people have needs, and we know that when the benefits are applied for, there's a good use for them, but right now they're being used only to benefit this state.
But aren't they taking the money for foster care?
No, they're taking the money really in most cases to put in general state accounts.
Nationally, 3/4 of those in foster care entitled to benefits, more than 25,000 children, are affected by this practice. But Amy Harfeld says most kids have no idea, since agencies often apply for survivor and disability benefits without giving notice to the child or his or her relatives.
For sure, the secrecy is really the most insidious piece of this. You know, a lot of states might stand up and defend this practice, and to them I would say, if this is all above board, why is it you're doing it behind the kids' backs? Why is it that you're never telling them or their attorneys that you're doing this?
The Social Security Administration estimates that $174 million in benefits a year are at stake, but Harfield believes the number is actually higher. States are required by federal law to report back to the agency how much of these benefits they take each year, but only about a dozen comply.
My mother didn't do all this work in the military just for the state to take this money and, as you can hear, do nothing with it. No changes, no benefits for me.
Ian Marks had it better than most. He was placed with one family, but often older children end up in group homes or bounce from one place to another.
I lived in 4 different homes and attended 4 different schools during high school.
And if it's difficult to thrive in foster care, it's even harder, they say, when you age out.
I aged out at 18 years old. You don't have access to a caseworker anymore, and you're basically on your own. They may check and see if you have a job or if you have a place to stay, but if not, then you may just end up on the side of a street, which has actually happened to a lot of people.
I was kind of like over here.
People like Katrina White. When she aged out of foster care at the age of 21 in the fall of 2022, she ended up here, living in a tent alongside a busy San Diego freeway.
I would just wake up in the morning before the street lights are off fully and look around and be like, do I really want to be here?
White lived this way for more than 7 months while working part-time and taking college classes online.
Where would you mostly do your classes?
In my tent.
Were you scared?
I was.
I can't think of a single person who would have persevered in her situation.
Sarah Powder, once a foster child herself, is now a project manager for a California nonprofit that helps people like Katrina who have no place to live after foster care to find housing.
Every day for her was, where can I go take a shower or use a bathroom so I can manage my hygiene and I can go to school and work and try to blend in.
White was homeless and penniless, says Powder, while welfare agencies have been collecting her survivor benefits for years.
I happened to just piece it together with Katrina because I remembered in one of our earlier conversations that she mentioned both her parents had passed away. This happens behind the backs of young people.
How widespread is this?
We think it's very widespread and that most states are doing it.
It hasn't been easy to end the practice, says Illinois Congressman Danny Davis. He's been pushing since 2016 for Congress to prohibit states from taking federal benefits from foster children.
Put it in some kind of reserve, a fund, so that as those individuals age out of the system, they may have a nest egg. How are you?
So far, Congressman Davis has been unable to get any version of the bill to a vote.
It has been challenging, I'll put it that way.
But there is a growing recognition that children need more support when they leave foster care. 7 states have now passed laws to help children keep their federal benefits, although a similar bill in California was vetoed by the governor last year due to a shortfall in the state budget. And there are signs that the federal agency that pays the benefits may do more.
Why should children who happen to be also entitled to Social Security benefits have to pay for the foster care that other kids don't have to pay for?
Well, and that's the question. I don't believe that it's fair. I don't believe it's the right policy outcome.
Martin O'Malley, a former governor of Maryland, became commissioner of the Social Security Administration late last year.
Clearly, there's a desire, a hope, that some of these dollars will be conserved for kids that are receiving Social Security benefits. But it doesn't happen very often.
So you're admitting it doesn't happen. Isn't that a violation of your own regulations that this money is supposed to be conserved for these kids?
At this point, it is not. But the question is, should it be?
But any future changes will come too late for AJ and other children aging out of foster care now.
About how much money do you think you would have collected if you had been given those benefits?
A little under $72,000.
Over 6 years?
Over 6 years.
You didn't see any of that?
Not a dime.
And what about you, Justin? Do you know how much money?
Yeah, over $18,000 was taken.
All 4 have still managed to beat the odds and have gone on to college. Anthony Jackson is working on an art degree. Ian Marks is in law school. Justin Cachetta recently graduated from the University of Michigan. Katrina White is studying social work and now has stable housing.
SCSU has a great...
And Sarah Powder, who was once there herself, says these are the lucky ones.
Why do you feel so strongly about this issue of benefits?
Because the outcomes of the young people who leave foster care are so bad. So until we have created a system that ensures that foster youth get everything that they need and that they make this transition to adulthood successfully, then it does not make sense for us to intercept money that could help them do that.